Today we're going to see how well you know the NFL and know football, and we're also going to talk about how you probably are owning the wrong players in Dynasty because there are some serious discrepancies. A lot of these guys are pretty similar, but their prices are way, way off. Do us a huge favor. If you enjoy these type of videos where we compare two players, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed as well. We'd love to get your feedback and see if we should do more videos like this. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to give my player first. Nathan will give his second, and then we'll tell you who they are and we'll compare. So let's start with the first one here. Player 1 in 2024 finishes the wide receiver 25. 12.3 points per game from this player, which was 32nd in the league. So, you know, not all that great. It's 74 receptions, 4 touchdowns. Currently goes at ADP 56, so in the 4th round, and then age is 24 and a half. Okay, so keep all that in mind. Nathan's got the next guy.
Yeah, so player number 2 is going to be the wide receiver 37. Not is going to be, he was going to be, because he was the wide receiver 37 in 2024 at 12.1 points per game, which was good for 34th among wide receivers. And then you've got 94 receptions for 4 touchdowns, so the same amount of touchdowns, more receptions as player 1 with ADP 82. You worried about the age gap? You shouldn't be, because there's not an age gap at all. Player 1 24.4 and player 2 25.
So for those of you keeping track at home, half a year difference.
Same amount of age difference.
Same amount of touchdowns. Player 2 had 20 more receptions, and they averaged the same amount of points per game, yet their ADP 30 spots apart.
That's 3 full rounds.
So get your guesses
Almost
in. Here we go.
rounds.
My player is Zay Flowers.
My player is Khalil Shakir. And if you were curious about like what our opinions were of these players heading into this, I think everyone knows at this point that we've been recommending that people down tier from Zay Flowers, or even pivot from Zay Flowers. I really do think, honestly, like Khalil Shakir, where he's being priced, I think it's very, very fair. I think the Dynasty community is very understanding of what Khalil Shakir is as an NFL talent and as a fantasy asset for your team in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And it's capped is what it is. He's an exclusive slot wide receiver, so he's got the slot wide receiver tag on his name, and he gets just under 100 receptions, has the best season of his career, and it's still only good for a high-end wide receiver 4, right? We had super, super high expectations for Zay Flowers. He has first-round draft capital. He's in a situation where he's the top option as a wide receiver with Lamar Jackson throwing him the ball. I feel like that's the only reason that his value is being propped up at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like this is less buy Khalil Shakir, and this is more hard sell Zay Flowers and down tier or pivot off of him, because this should not be happening.
Well, and also given the fact now we know that Josh Allen won MVP, right? But Lamar was
totally
second,
got snubbed.
And you know, so when you're looking at these two players, it's not like you can say, okay, one had a drastically better situation than the other. No, they both had pretty good situations.
They're both run-first offenses, and you know, not really an alpha wide receiver in the room to take away from them.
I wanted to be objective, so I went with, while Nathan was talking, I was looking yards after catch, because where's Zay Flowers getting his points? It's probably in yards, right? Yards after catch, 463 for Zay Flowers. Okay, so that was good for 14th in the league. That's 4 per target, okay?
Yeah, and then Shakir's yak is second in the league. It's actually better. He had just under 700 yards after the catch. We always talk about yak, and where that really is like, that's one of the top things that we like looking at with receivers and what they're able to do after the catch and how good of a playmaker they are after the catch. It merits them getting more targets, more opportunities, more receptions in their offense. It's not that Zay Flowers is bad at yak. I mean, 14th in the league is really, really good, and clearly, I mean, he was drafted for his yak ability. Shakir, as a slot wide receiver, is just better at it.
I mean, well, and here's the thing. Like, I think everybody's going to agree, because this is not a referendum on talent. This is just comparing two blind analytical profiles, and analytically, these guys stack up very similar to each other. Zay is a better wide receiver.
Yes,
no question.
If you were to tell us who we prefer in a vacuum as a true wide receiver,
or who do we want on the Colts, it would be Zay. Like,
correct.
I mean, 100%.
Correct.
But in terms of dynasty value, what this should tell you is, like Nathan said, Zay Flowers his ceiling is clearly capped, in my opinion. And yes, he has room to grow, but I think this is going to be more or less what kind of receiver Zay is from a fantasy perspective. And Khalil, you know, but when you've got Khalil Shakir as the example, but also all the veterans below him in ADP, you can down tier, you can pivot from Zay Flowers, get the same amount of production at less of a cost in Dynasty, and that's going to be important for you.
I think it shows you how big the production tier really is there in that range. We always say how gross it is up in the price range of Zay Flowers.
Yep.
It's technically gross for multiple rounds because all that production upside is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Here we go. My player finishes the wide receiver 8 in 2024. So pretty good player here. 18.2 points per game, which was 4th in the league. 109 receptions. Yeah. And 7 touchdowns. Going as the 7th overall player in Dynasty. Hopefully you know who this is. This should give it away here. 21 and a half years old. Nathan, your player.
Yeah, player number 2 was wide receiver 26 on the season. Why the heck would you compare a guy who's wide receiver 26 on the season compared to wide receiver 8? Well, the points per game, 6 in points per game, 17.9 points per game. So that should tell you right there, give you a pretty solid hint that he was injured for part of the season. And then you've got 90 receptions, which is 20 receptions less than player number 1. 3 touchdowns, which is less than half. ADP is 14th overall right now, and he is 23.7 years old, which is a 2-year age gap between player 1 and player 2. Both cornerstone guys.
As you could have guessed, my player is Malik Neighbors.
My guy's Puka Nacua.
And so really what stands out here, I think, and what a lot of people are going to jump to immediately is like, okay, you've got 2 more years with Malik Neighbors. This literally doesn't matter
at this age.
It doesn't matter. Like when you get to the point where you're like 26, 27, yeah, it does matter. A 26 versus 28-year-old is a big difference. But a 21 and a half versus 23 and a half-year-old, it doesn't make a difference at all here. No. When you're talking about the 3-year outlook of these players, both of them have great 3-year outlooks. And in terms of points per game, these guys were neck and neck this year when they were both healthy. Now the best ability is availability. I totally understand that, right? And so Puka does need to stay healthy. He does need to stay on the field. You are getting
Neighbors does too.
Yes, exactly. What basically this, because I would say Nathan and I both agree at price. I think both of these guys are fine. Like I don't really have an issue with this one at all. What it really tells me is that from a production standpoint, in the first round of startup drafts, you can go QB and get Puka Nacua on the way back and still have a stud wide receiver that you feel confident in. That's the main takeaway for me here. Yep. Now, again, you're talking about how much they actually played. The receptions were up there for Puka Nacua, and he did play significantly less than Malik Neighbors this year. And so I think, given a full season, who knows what would happen. In terms of the situation's pretty comparable. In my opinion, these guys are both valued about where they should be. It's more of just you can get this caliber receiver in the second if you want to take a quarterback in the first and feel okay about it.
Yeah, I think what we were just talking about Yak with Zay Flowers and Shakir, same sort of thing kind of applies. Malik Neighbors, Yak, 15th in the league, right by Zay Flowers, and then you've got Puka Nacua, who after missing the amount of time that he missed this season, went on IR. He was still 4th in the league in yards after catch, 577 yards after the catch. He is a Yak guy. Both of these guys are target hogs. Again, I think this is a really nice exercise. Obviously, we think it's a nice exercise because we wouldn't be doing a video if we didn't think it was helpful. But keep these things in mind when you're weighing, when you're doing a startup. These types of deep analytics on these specific players who are either value equivalent or you can down tier 2, pass up on and go get a guy who's had the same amount of production for 2 or 3 rounds cheaper.
Which is exactly why on our team blueprints, we've been telling people, hey, if you have Malik Neighbors, and we have teams that are value needy, we tell them, hey, Puka's actually a decent down tier target because, 7 spots in the top 15 is pretty significant. You've got some value baked into that. So again, for every trade that we give like this, it's specific to your dynasty team. So is our team blueprint. We go through, look at your positional grades, we look at your team archetype, and we look at your 3-year outlook. We give you all of those things based on the process we've created, and then we give you the players that you should be targeting or selling because it is team dependent and every dynasty team is different. You get one free with the annual Motherflocker tier. You also get a ton of things with that, including, again, the free blueprint, but you also get rankings, trade calculator. You get the rookie draft guide for 2025. You get our Discord, which in my opinion is the best resource right now if you are making dynasty trades, because our trades forum, let me tell you, it is absolutely popping. There are, dozens and dozens of messages on every single trade. So if you are wanting good trade advice, it's a good place to be. Flockfantasy.com/domain. Like I said, code domain annual Motherflocker tier is going to unlock all of that for you and get you set to dominate this dynasty offseason. Let's talk about the second or third set of players here. The first guy here, my guy, finished in 2024 as the running back 10 overall in PPR leagues. In 2024, points per game, 15.9. That was 14th in the league. Okay. Rushing yards, 990 rushing yards and 54 receptions. This guy is currently going at pick 57 in startup drafts. Okay. So right there, 5-6 turn. And in terms of age, 25 years old.
So my guy finished as a running back 14 on the year at 16.1 points per game, which was 13th. So again, you would assume missed a little bit of time there. When you're talking about rushing yards, he had just under 1,200 rushing yards this season with 43 receptions on top of that. ADP right now is 69, which is nice. A lot nicer than the price above because it's cheaper again. And then the age, 25.6 years old, half-year age difference with these two players.
Okay, so the age difference is negligible.
Correct.
The receptions are, within 10. Player 2 had how many more? Almost 200 more rushing yards, right?
Yep. And let me give you an extra hint here. Player 1, whose ADP is higher and age is just a little bit under, half a year, has day 3 draft capital. And the second guy just got extended for 3 years with a out after the second year.
You probably are getting pretty close to figuring out who it is. My player is Chase Brown. Player 1 is Chase Brown.
Chuba Hubbard.
So when you're looking at their ADP in particular, I think what stands out is these guys are going a full round apart.
Yeah, and again, when you're looking at why is that the case, I think it's got to be the offense. I think it's got to be the situation. Chase Brown is playing for the Cincinnati Bugles. And Chase Brown, in the opportunity that he got this season after he was no longer splitting carries with Zach Moss, looked a lot better. He was a lot more efficient. He was a lot more consistently productive. So there's a little bit of like, okay, let's let's not just look at the total numbers here and just make that be the final conclusion. I mean, through the first 5 weeks of the year, Chase Brown had like less than 40% snap share because it was an evenly split backfield. Now Chuba Hubbard started splitting the backfield with Jonathan Brooks for a little bit of a stretch there in the middle of the season until he retore his ACL, but it was kind of negligible, honestly. And he got a lot more boom bust, especially towards the end of the season. And then you have on top of that the fact that Chase Brown is getting so many checkdowns, not efficient as a receiver, honestly. He only, what was his yards per reception? Chase Brown's yards per reception this year.
I mean, you also got to think about they were
6.7. He was
so
throwing
much.
him the ball so much. That's the thing, is they were dumping it off so much. He only had 6.7 yards per reception, which was good for 22nd among running backs in the league. So how much is he really a weapon in the receiving game after the catch or anything like that? Not really, but he's a nice check down option in an offense that's constantly throwing the ball. So I think the price is merited. That's why Chase Brown is ranked significantly higher than Chuba Hubbard. But I will say, if you're wanting to take a more of a risk-free shot on a running back that has plenty of questions, I honestly might recommend Chuba Hubbard because he's a guy that actually has contract insulation and he's not really at risk of being replaced this offseason.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this. I mean, you talk about, these guys are close in almost every single metric. Points per game wise, Chuba, beat him. Chuba has the contract insulation. We're not talking about the risk here, like the risk of just owning these players. I feel significantly more comfortable owning Chuba Hubbard than I do Chase Brown.
Especially when you're getting plus on top.
And, yeah, especially when he's a round cheaper. And again, going from the 5th or 6th or 7th round is a big jump here. And so my takeaway from this is I would rather, if I need this guy as my running back 2 on my team, I would much rather have Chuba Hubbard than I would Chase Brown. He's cheaper. They're about the same age, but he's got better insulation. He's going to be less risky. At price, give me Chuba Hubbard. I like both of these backs. We've recommended these guys as buys on Team Blueprints as well. But I think at price, I like Chuba Hubbard. So
yeah, and Brooks ain't playing next year.
That is that's safe to say. All right, let's keep it going. Back to wide receivers here. My wide receiver finished in 2024 as the wide receiver 22 and averaged 14.1 points per game. That was 20th in the league. He had 59 receptions, which if you're doing the math, 59 receptions, wide receiver 22, 14-1, that's pretty efficient, right? 7 touchdowns. He's going at ADP number 56 here, and he is 23.8 years old.
And then my guy finished as a wide receiver 16 on the season in 2024. 14 points per game, which was 23rd among wide receivers. He had 98 receptions compared to player 1's 59, and then 6 touchdowns, which was a 15.1%. I guess it contributed to 15.1% of his production on the season. His ADP is 59. So these guys are value equivalent. They're going in the same tier right now, roughly. The age is the big thing that we got to talk about here because player 1, like Avery already said, is 23.8, going on 24. Player number 2 is going on 28 years old almost.
Yeah, and so we talked about this earlier. It does make a difference when you have a player that is 28 in their 3-year outlook and then a player that is 24. My player is Jameson Williams.
My guy's DJ Moore.
And so these are guys, again, when you're looking from a production standpoint, DJ Moore is more productive. And when you're talking about the immediate impact of both of their situations this offseason, DJ Moore just got JMO's offensive coordinator. DJ Moore's situation is significantly better. I would not say J-Mo's situation is better. I would not say Ben Johnson leaving benefits Jameson Williams at all. If anything, of all the guys, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, in my opinion, would be the first one to take a hit.
He's most scheme dependent.
Because he's scheme dependent and because I think some of those targets could end up being the easier targets that end up going to Laporta. Now with J-Mo was also pretty boom or bust when you talk about it this season. And J-Mo was a guy, I mean, honestly, that, he's not a guy we're really telling people to trade for. He started 24 points, 14 points, then 1 point, then 16 points and 17 points, then 0 points, and then 8 points, 11 points, 9 points, 12 points, 26 points, 9 points. So it's boom, 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 right? All over the place. And so we know this is what J-Mo is. While DJ Moore, it was pretty like, okay, Shane Waldron is my offensive coordinator, and then it was, Shane Waldron's not my offensive coordinator anymore. And when you're talking about the games where DJ Moore at the end of the season didn't have Shane Waldron as his offensive coordinator, I just want to read you, what week was it that he got fired? Probably around week 10, right? I'm just going to guess looking at his production because he went from 5, 7, and 5 points to 13, 26, 23, 10, 15, 14, 12, and 22 points. Okay, and so you're talking about a stretch there to end the season, 9 straight games or 8 straight games without being in single digits. He was in double digits every single time. When you're looking at the targets, he was in double-digit targets 2 times during that stretch, never had less than 7, had 8 or more in every single game but one of them. And so DJ Moore, towards the end of the season, with a different offensive coordinator, and mind you, Caleb Williams rookie year, still a lot of disarray for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams going to get better. You've got Ben Johnson. You got some stability in the organization. DJ Moore is under, and so the thing is here, again, the main thing is going to be, well, these guys are so comparable. Why wouldn't you take the guy that's, and people are still going to disagree with us on this. But I think you can maybe give some perspective here as to, in terms of how we're looking at this, I'm not, 3-year outlook wise, I'm not super worried about DJ Moore right now.
No, I'm not at all. I mean, like the contract insulation, everyone knows that he got a deal last season. Number 2, Ben Johnson, what he was able to do in Detroit, I think is really going to be able to help DJ Moore sustain his production that he's had for the last couple of seasons. Biggest thing that I want to look at here and that we've touched on plenty over the past 12 to 18 months is the sustainability of yards per reception outlooks. And for Jameson Williams in 2024, 2023 compared to 2024, he jumped from 14.8 up to 17.3. And what we've seen historically, dating back multiple years, is that generally once you get beyond like that 17 yards per reception threshold, actually I think it's in the mid 16s, yep, you are prone to come back
You're
down
a regression
significantly. Candidate. You're a regression candidate. You're going to regress back to the mean. DJ Moore is well below that. He was in the 14s for multiple years, 2023, 2022, dating back all to his Carolina days. He was always hovering around the 14, 13. He had 18.1 yards per reception in 2020, and then he went back down to 12 and 14 after that. He was at 9.9, lowest yards per reception ever in 2024. Thanks Shane Waldron. Thanks Matt Eberflus. Thanks that entire coaching staff and front office for sucking Ben Johnson's in town, folks. And that, honestly, if that were your only reason for preferring DJ Moore over Jameson Williams, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you at all. This is going to go up. The efficiency for DJ Moore is going to go up with more volume already than Jameson Williams has been able to offer in his best season in Detroit. And I think, again, that's got to be enough for me. It's enough for me.
Yeah,
so,
and again, like I think it's no secret at this point we're very big DJ Moore fans. So
yeah.
All right, let's talk a couple quarterbacks now. My quarterback finishes the quarterback 7 on the year, 19.1 points per game. That's 8th in the NFL, 3,900 yards, 34 touchdowns total, rushing and passing combined. ADP is 26. He's going at the 2-3 turn. We've seen him go late second here recently. Nathan's quarterback.
So my guy has finished quarterback 14 on the year. He did finish 10th in points per game with 18.6 points per game. Total passing yards was just under 4,000. He had like 3,864 passing yards, 25 total touchdowns. That's in the air and on the ground. And his ADP is 42. So that's about a 2-round gap there. Again, age doesn't really matter at all with these quarterbacks.
No, and so they're both young quarterbacks. Points per game separated by half a point, right? Although, the finish was lower for one of them than it was the other, pretty considerably. Passing yards within 100 yards. The touchdowns is really that's really where the difference is here. Player 1 had a 9-touchdown advantage, but again, when you're talking about the difference in ADP, it's a round and a half, sometimes 2 rounds. I've seen it be 2 rounds, 2 full rounds or more, and I saw it in the last startup draft.
Yep.
And my player is Bo Nix.
My guy's Brock Purdy.
And so, I mean, I really,
Actually, that's hilarious. There's like a 2-month difference between these guys.
They are literally the same.
Even though
age.
Purdy's been in the league for 3 years.
And I think a lot of people are kind of giving Purdy some hate right now. And I think, well, I mean, we saw him go I think the 410 in our most recent startup draft.
Actually, I mean, Purdy, before he and San Fran as a whole started struggling, it was really after week 11 is when he started being a little bit boom, bust, and there were a lot of things that went into that. But look at his game log before he got injured in week 12 against Green Bay. 10, 14, 25, 15, 15, 24, 20, 26, 23, 19. And then after that, it was 2, 22, 4, 22, 32. Which still, I mean, all things considered, the one snow game against Buffalo, you take away that snow game, which, you know, San Fran playing in the snow, you're not going to want to bet on anyone in that game anyways. He really just had one bad game this year against the Rams. That was it. The rest was very consistent, very reliable, and very reflective of what he did in 2023. I don't really think anything changed. What we expected from him didn't change. He duplicated it when you take away the 2 games that he missed, one of which was at the very end of the season when they just sat him to keep him healthy.
And situationally, this was the worst situational year of his career.
The worst situational
Absolutely,
game.
by far, not even close.
By far.
Played the entire season without Christian McCaffrey. Do you know how big of a difference?
And Ayuk.
You know how big of a difference that makes to not have Christian McCaffrey versus having Christian McCaffrey? Like, I mean, you're talking a substantial
Huge
difference in offensive versatility.
And he was able to maintain what he was doing from an efficiency perspective again this year.
And so when you're looking at, again, somebody mentioned we say again a lot. We absolutely say again a lot. I'll try not to.
We do.
I don't know what else to say.
I mean, look at the adjusted yards per attempt. Everyone loves looking at adjusted yards per pass attempt as like an efficiency metric for quarterbacks and whether they're going to, you know, make a jump or have sustainable production or, you know, be improving over the next couple of seasons. Brock Purdy was top 10. He was 7th in the league in adjusted yards per attempt this season. Bo Nix, and this was a big thing for him this year. I don't think this was a secret. He was 20th in the league at 6.5. That is well below what we want to see. Now, can he improve with that? Absolutely. Because he was much better in the second half of the season versus the first. But, I mean, when you're talking about a productive offense, a consistently productive offense that's going to be more friendly to the quarterback in that situation, I would probably lean more Brock Purdy than Sean Payton because Sean Payton sometimes can... he can just kind of run the heck out of the ball. Well, and
he will.
He'll manage Bo Nix if he has to.
I mean, what happens if the Broncos get Caleb Johnson? Like, seriously, they will run part of the reason that Bo Nix was such an integral part of that offense is because Bo Nix is very, very good. I want to be clear about that. But the touchdowns, you know, a lot of that was because their running backs sucked this year. I mean, they were so bad.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at Nix, again, like the main thing for me, because he had 92 attempts for 430 rushing yards. I wish I had the comment. I'm going to try to find the comment where somebody trashed us for saying that he actually had some rushing production upside, when in reality, he scored, 40 points from yards this year and 24 points from, so you're talking an extra 60, 70 points from rushing.
Yeah,
so
that is very significant.
Out of 329 points, 70 of them?
But again, that shouldn't have been a secret.
Like 20%.
He did that in college. So
and it wasn't a secret.
Yeah.
I like both these quarterbacks at price. Give me Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, if anything, is going to take a step up, and I think Bo Nix would be, if anything,
they're probably going to meet in the middle somewhere in the third round.
I don't think Bo Nix is a top 5 quarterback next year from production standpoint.
I don't think so.
I think he could be at low end quarterback 1, but I think Brock Purdy's always going to be at low end quarterback 1. So I'll just take the big price difference there, and that's opinion. I like Bo Nix. So a lot of people are Bo leavers, and we get I love Bo. Don't get me wrong. If you think Bo is worth just keeping at this price.
We were Bo leavers way before it was cool.
Oh,
so this is a price thing.
I mean, we have a lot of Bo Nix, so let me tell you.
Yeah, because he was a screaming value last season.
So last set of guys here. We'll do this one a little bit more quick.
A little bit more quicker.
A little bit more quicklier. Wide receiver 82 last year. Not great. 8.5 points per game, 54th in the league. 31 receptions, 3 touchdowns, an ADP of 94. And this guy is how old?
24.4.
24.4.
Yep. And then my guy is the wide receiver 47 in 2024. Points per game basis, he was 52nd, 8.8. Again, not pretty. 66 receptions and 3 touchdowns on the year. He is 24.2. They are age equivalent. Your guy is?
I want to highlight this. You're saying they're exact same age. They had the exact same points per game.
And their ADP is 6 rounds apart.
Yeah,
ADP 94.
Yeah.
I don't even think I said my guy's ADP 149. So
these
basically
guys are
the
going
irrelevant
5 to
range.
6 rounds apart. 5 to 6 rounds, and you have to invest a top 8 startup pick, top 9 round startup pick to get the guy number 1, my guy, Ricky Pearsall, where you can get this guy,
Demario Douglas,
in like the
fraction of the price. Now, biggest thing to highlight here. Number 1, this is staggering because the price gap here, again, it's like why the heck is player number 1 being elevated so much? It is 1000% because of the situation in San Francisco, and that situation is Brandon Ayuk is coming off of a torn ACL. Christian McCaffrey is coming off of an injury-riddled season where he barely played at all. George Kittle is 31 years old, and Deebo Samuel, more likely than not this offseason, is out the door. They will not be paying him because they have to pay a million other people, one of which was already Nick Bosa. They're going to have to extend Brock Purdy. Deebo Samuel's out the door. What's going to happen to Ricky Pearsall's value? Boom. Everybody is already expecting it. He's going to increase in value.
But
sell him.
Baked into his price. Like, that's the thing. Like, you know, yeah, I get it with Ricky.
Draft capital.
Can I just give you a tidbit? Just this is the cherry on top of this video. If you made it to the end, say that you made it to the cherry. Ricky Pearsall is the lowest graded wide receiver with first-round draft capital ever in the bakery.
Ever.
Of all the receivers ever drafted in the first round, he is the lowest. And, you know, I'm not going to say, yeah, let's just go off that.
That was a panic pick, guys. That was a panic pick.
Well, it was a panic pick, but it was also, you know, they mentioned the Discord cost management because of how expensive wide receivers are.
Correct.
And he's a wide receiver 2 or 3, and that's what he is.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take a wide receiver 2 or 3 then. But again, let's manage our expectations from a fantasy football perspective. I'll take at price. It's not even close for me. So make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. Seriously, drop a like if you enjoyed this video. I mean, we've never done one like this.
We'll do more of them if you like them.
I don't know how you guys will feel about this. You should let us know in the comments, though. Hopefully, you had some nice graphics in there. I had Becca cook up some more graphics for us. Shout out Becca, shout out Sherry. But flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain in your Motherflocker tier. It's going to get you that free team blueprint. It's going to get you our Discord, which, like I said, was absolutely, it's just been popping. It's going to get you the rankings. We have all these guys ranked. It's going to get you our 2025 rookie draft guide. We'd love to have you over there. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later. And so we'll do it like this. I'm going to start. I'm going to read you my player, but I'm not going to reveal until after Nathan gives you his. And then we're going to talk about why these players are actually valued differently in Dynasty Fantasy Football, when in reality, they shouldn't be. There's some actionable advice in here. Zay Flower.
What?
I said his name.
I didn't even notice.
Idiot. Moron. Sherry, will you cut that
Sherry,
for us?
You got to keep that in.
Send it to us, please. That was
amazing.
so stupid.
We're going to keep it a secret until the very end. Here we go.
Zay Flowers. Jeez. Okay. 5, 4, 3.
You worried about an age gap? There's not. Player 1's 24.4. Khalil.
Dang, this is hard for us. Let us know how smart you are, how good you are at this. How much do you know? Malik. Gosh. All right, now it's a blooper reel, Sherry. That's a blooper reel you're putting in here for us. We're idiots. I'm an idiot.